I'll try to get to also to why medium groups. Group therapy is often felt by therapists who are themselves very clear about their advantages of the approach. But it is also a fact that is the greatest challenge to convey the uniqueness of the participation in groups, and especially medium groups. Having a clearer indication for different spaces of treatment, for example, who is to go to individual therapy, group therapy, couple therapy, family therapy, could help to define the unique contribution of small and medium groups. Uri came to me. He was 40, he was married with 3 children. He was very successful, but felt internally insecure and anxious, especially tense, whenever he had to meet a group. These symptoms did not change in spite of 2 satisfactory individual therapies, and in great contradiction to his professional success and his social life. What makes small and medium group therapy unique enough to justify a clear indication? How shall therapists be convinced that participation in group therapy is absolutely imperative? We are in need of a good indication system which connects specific disorders with specific treatment strategies. If you have an acute knee pain, it will be screened and diagnosed so you know if you need rest for your knee, you need physiotherapy or surgery. These suggestions will not be egosymptomic or understandable, but still they will be done. Something has to be done in therapy for having an indication for optimal therapy, which I think we lack. And this will be about it. I will ask 3 or 4 questions. What is the disorder to treat? What is the optimal therapeutic space? And then I want to add, when will be a specific optimal space be recommended? What is research traits, and do we treat psychological mindedness? We want a person to be more mature and more insightful. Or do we treat ORQ, object relation quality, which is also one of the best research traits? Now, other more classical personal pathologies like depression or OCD are of course another answer to this question: what are we treating? Although they usually are defined too broadly for a specific indication for therapy. I want to suggest that if we can define disorders which are specifically interpersonal and multipersonal, there will be a differentiation between group, couple therapies, families, etc. Then we could say that we can optimally cope and treat the disorder. Now Uri, when he came, I thought at the end of some meetings that what happened to him was a traumatic boycott he had as an adolescent, resulting in great isolation and hurt. In spite of later good social development, a basic insecurity was left when engaging with groups, and he needed a periodic retreat into dyadic protection. Now the challenge, defining relation disorders. Suggesting categories of relation disorders, we best cite Fuchs, who said, "It is not very helpful to speak of individuals in terms of conventional diagnostic labels." And further he said, "We should treat a neurotic disturbance as multi-personal ones." Transpersonal phenomena goes to the very roots of any approach to group psychology and requires a fundamental turn of mind. I will suggest a fundamental turn of mind in a moment by suggesting a different but complementary approach to psychology. Please regard this as an idea. Please think with me together. An idea which adds multi-personal dysfunctions, not excluding our classic individual pathology, which educated us all. This will not only improve indications for therapy, but also facilitate optimal use of the uniqueness of every therapeutic space. Relation disorders, which I will now suggest, are multi-personal dysfunctional patterns. I wrote about it. They are categories of reciprocal emotional movements and behaviors detected in society and group therapy. These disorders are created, but they are co-created by all sides of this dysfunctional interpersonal patterns, in which the involved parties fail to contain strong emotions. Can you please? Thanks. First of all, the relational. Yeah. First of all, the first one is the deficiency relation disorder. What is this? When there is an inability of the participants to contain the duality between weakness and strength in oneself and in others. Someone which will always feel deficient, will be anxious, depressive, inferior, and interact with others who are fixated by feelings of being functional, always powerful, always helpful. The split between what is called in family therapy the identified patient and what I call the identified caretaker, which immobilize group relations and create chronic pathology. Secondly, the rejection relation disorder. It results from a disability to contain the group's aggression. Increasingly so strong fantasies of violence between a rejecting subgroup and an inclusion-needy individual may be acted out. Additional processes like the tendencies to scapegoat without guilt, without shame, and on the one hand, and the scapegoat's increasingly neediness to be included becomes surprisingly strong. The complementary relationship between rejected and rejectors in school classes and close society are pathogenic in more than one way. The third is the relation disorders of the self. A pathological relationship is addressed when and where social over-identification results in an underdevelopment of an autonomic self. There are heroes, like Ghazalian said, selfless heroes, and selfish counterparts. And they collude to serve the cause while harming themselves and others. When women and men are educated to selflessly offer their lives for their families, communities, and jobs, they become obsessively preoccupied with a sense of heroic using and being misused by society, which are also using and misusing others at the same time. The fourth is the exclusion relation disorder. For me, rejection is throwing out a group and eliminating and destroying. Excluding is marginalizing, leaving it in the group, but it's outside the center. The core of society does not wish to destroy individuals or subgroups, but acts to marginalize them. It becomes a chronic illness for a group or society where the excluded accept marginalization and no movement within the center and margins is possible. It may cause symptoms which resemble depression or to the center and back, and can create a significant outcome. It's not only Roma and Sinti and other ethnic groups that are different, but women, homosexuals, ex-convicts, we talked about this today, the poor, the black, ex-psychotic, etc. Well, Uri went through group analysis where he worked mainly on three dysfunctional patterns. His panic from being scapegoated, the second, relation disorder, elaborate the relations between him and the group. Mutual tendency to avoid and reject with longing for irrational inclusion were worked through. Later, the ambivalence about being a weak person, the first one, and the strong group's facade were elaborated in connection with the deficient relation disorder. And finally, Uri and the group succeeded to enlarge their freedom to choose a hero, because he was chosen sometimes as a hero later, and used and abused by the group. One therapeutic space, and I'll try to say some words about it. For many reasons, I think, and I built on what Rocco said and Edward Klein, other people, locations. So a disorder has to be treated where it was created. This is connected with our need to reenact patterns. I can't go into it. The median group is something which creates also some kinds of these disturbances, and the therapy must be there too. So from my clinical experience, I would say that at least 3 relation disorders will be reenacted very strongly in the median groups. It is the second, rejection, the scapegoats and so on. It is the self-relation disorder. Selfless people and heroes, they come up in the group and fall down all the time, and the relations with the other. And the fourth one, exclusion, is great in the median group. It's even much, much stronger than the small group. And it must be used to therapeutic things. So I think for some people, the median group will be the optimal curing space. And the last thing is, when will a specific optimal space be recommended? This is the third question I asked. Most potential patients prefer to start with individual therapy. Why? Newcomers to therapy are rather vulnerable and fear imagined group non-containment and lack of protection. When we feel acutely bad, we shout. What do we shout? Mama! We don't shout family, parents. We we are tempted also by the individual therapist's promise for care, and are driven by basic tendency to get soothing and protection in the early diet, rather than adhere to a specific indication that would include medium or small group therapy. Thus, what I think is we should discuss a two-step indication process. This means that we should accept that the majority of patients will initially move in the dyadic space. But soon afterwards, it will be wise to consider group therapy as an optimal therapeutic space. Only there, the indicated treatment for some multipersonal dysfunctions will have a chance for real change. Thank you.